Rob say Code Monkey very diligent, but his outputs stink. His code not functional or elegant. What do Code Monkey think? Code Monkey think maybe manager wanna write goddamn login page himself. Code Monkey not say I'm loud. Code Monkey not crazy, just proud. And Code Monkey like Frito. Code Monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew.
You are an independent artist, right?
Yes.
And you basically function as head of your own record label?
Yes.
So what jobs do you outsource?
That's a good question. What do I outsource? I outsource booking live shows because that involves talking on the telephone and self-promotion, and I'm not good at either one of those things. I actually outsource a lot of my email stuff. Anything that's sort of a standard cut and paste response. I have an assistant who does that for me. Somebody else cutting and pasting instead of me cutting and pasting. It's not any less personal, really. She also helps me with like mailing stuff out and some travel arrangements for t-shirts. Wow, that's mostly it. It's mostly all I outsource, I think. There are some. Occasionally, I need legal help. I outsource that because I'm not an attorney, and I don't print my own shirts, and I don't master my CDs. But aside from that, everything else is pretty much me.
All right, so your success stems from a combination of great niche music and heavy fan interaction. So do you think it would be possible for an independent artist to survive on one alone, or do you really need both to succeed independently?
I think the niche aspect of it helps a great deal. I was just talking with a friend of mine who's a musician who's, I think he's a lot more talented than I am, and he's watched what's happened to me and been very excited by it, but it hasn't really worked for him in the same way, and it's because, I have the fortunate circumstance that my geeky song content attracts geeks, right? And the geeks are the people who know how to use the internet better than anybody else. So they're the most comfortable buying MP3s, using PayPal. They're the most comfortable, receiving show updates by RSS via RSS feeds, and they know what Twitter is and how to use it. And so a lot of the action in the Jonathan Coulton universe happens in these places, and if you're not tuned into those things, then you can completely miss me. And I think that for other artists who don't have that kind of niche, I think that it's a challenge for sure to be able to apply the same internet-y principles to everything. I don't know if it's always going to work at this point, anyway.
All right. Do you ever feel like the fan interaction and business size of your job, since you do a lot and you don't outsource a lot, do you feel it ever cuts into focusing on music? Like, do you ever just want to concentrate on music and not have to think about everything else?
I feel like it cuts into music most of the time. It's not particularly scalable, I've found. This is why I'm a little ashamed that I have my assistant answer my email. I feel like a douchebag when I say those words. But the fact is, I could spend all day long. I frequently do spend all day long doing stuff that is not with a guitar in my hands, and it's an interesting paradox that it's come to that. And it's really a question of me giving up some control and outsourcing some more stuff. There's more stuff that could be outsourced, but I enjoy the business aspect of it. I kind of like sitting at a laptop all day. Some people say, like, oh, sure, you can be Jonathan Coulton, but then you have to sit at a laptop all day. I kind of like it,
All right, you describe yourself as internet famous. Do you think that there will only be internet famous in the future, or will there always be a place for record stores, radio play, and other non-internet?
So, in other words, is the phrase "internet famous" eventually just going to mean famous?
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think so. Eventually, long term, and maybe for a short window of time until whatever comes next replaces that. I'm not a futurist, although I speak as if I am. I think there are record stores. There is still a place for record stores right now. There are a lot of people who still buy records or CDs. I think that the kids are calling them. There's still television, there's still radio, still very big numbers happening there. A lot of money, a lot of ears and eyes tuned into those things. We got a few more years for sure that stuff is going to be with us and relevant, highly relevant. But the trend is heading in that direction. It's that internet famous is going to come to meme famous, I think, probably. Yeah.
All right, if you could give one piece of advice to someone who wants to make a living as a musician today, what would it be?
Boy, I can't give you one piece of advice. I have to give you two.
Okay.
The first is be as real and normal as possible. When you're writing music, when you're performing, when you're interacting with fans, just be yourself. You don't have to pretend to already be a rock star. I used to think that for a long time. You had to pretend to be famous already, and that's the only way that people would think you were famous. But that's actually the opposite is true. Just be yourself, because if you are successful being somebody else, you're going to be miserable, because that's not you. The best thing you can do is sort of have a career being you. The other thing I would say is put the music out there. Just get it into as many people's hands as possible, and worry about making money after the fact. You want people to hear the music. That's the place to start. And the fewer impediments there are to that, the better. Because if suddenly one of your songs gets picked up and becomes loved by thousands and thousands of people, and you don't see a dime, is that really a problem? It's actually a good starting point for something else. So don't worry about people getting stuff for free, at least until there are a lot of them getting it for free. Then you apply the thumb screws, then you get the money.